Welcome to another episode of The Diplomat, where I'm here back in the saddle again with Umble the Heap to talk about Cascadia 2021. He's already discussed his round one. He's now going to discuss his slightly less successful round two. But what an interesting game it was. But before we get into the game, Umble, hello, welcome, and tell us about our wonderful sponsor, diplomacybriefing.com.
Thank you. Diplomacy Briefing is a weekly update about the board game Diplomacy. It keeps the community in the know for everything happening across the platforms, new tournaments that are coming up, gives a strategy article every single week, oftentimes by people that have won tournaments. So if you're wanting to get better at Diplomacy, subscribe. You can do it through email. You can do Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and be a part of the community. It's the way to know what's all going on. And I've had someone recently say I had no idea this much was going on in Diplomacy until I subscribed. So it's free. Encourage you to do it.
Okay, so round two starts. You're in the top 6 or 7 going into round two, so you're definitely in contention for the tournament title. And you had to love this. You drew your favorite country, England.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I've in the tournaments that I've drawn England, I've gotten best England. I have the second best England in the third one, and then I get it again. And not only that, I look at the people that are next to me, and I go, man, this is like set up for me to have a really great game.
You had, I believe, Hal Schild as France. It shows David Malewski here on the screen because I believe he subbed in later.
Right. And the thing there is, me and Hal, the last tournament I played in, I had been England and he had been France. And besides a few little, kershuffles with him grabbing Belgium from me at one point, we played that thing through and I board topped as England. And so me and him, I knew him, very comfortable with him. Gary in Germany, he's a patron of the briefing. And, I know he can play a good alliance. I've never played with him before.
So, I played with him in round one, and we played an alliance, and I found him a delightful fellow from England, but it's very late at night for him, his time starting.
Yes. And this, so I'm very excited going into this.
And you had Stephen Hogue as Russia, who you had a good relationship. He played with him before. He played Turkey, so that's good.
Well, I would say it was neutral, but it was. Steve has, if I have to give an evaluation from the games I have played with him, I feel like sometimes he's his own worst enemy. And he's got options and he takes away his options from him too early. And so that creates problems. But that being said, none of the games I played with him I've said, oh man, that's terrible or anything. We'll see through this game. I think there were some options he should have left open that he didn't.
Okay, who is AJ as Austria?
He is in the DB&I. It's Andre, because I think he's in the top 10 or something. But
Andre Giannico?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay, Italy is Oculo.
Yeah, that's another Andre, but not as
from Portugal, I believe. I believe he's a doctor from Portugal. Okay. And then I think we covered that. Oh, and we got Poser Tom, who's a Nexus player and was in the Nexus finals and ended up finishing second in that finals.
Yeah.
And he had played live Cascadia a year ago, and he was playing. I don't think he had a great first game. He was playing his second game here as Turkey.
I think this is actually his first virtual game. He didn't play the first round. So this is his first virtual game. And, wow. He's going to be in the DB&I because of his online press play, got him in. And so he's wanting to kind of, get a feel for what the virtual is, as I recall. So I'm looking at this board and I'm thinking, things are good. Now another thing to consider is Germany and Austria in this game have both scored very well. And so they're also kind of, in the sense, my competitors in a meta way,
right,
for winning the tournament. So that's also in the back of my mind.
I presume it's the reason. I know Gary's score because we shared the same exact score. And he definitely was thinking he wasn't going to play round two unless he was in contention. So it was in his mind for sure.
Yeah. So my negotiations with Germany and France was like spectacular. I know they're bouncing in Burgundy. I know there's going to be no play on Belgium. Everything is lined up. Bam, 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 bam. We're great. And very exciting. I go over to Steve and I say, look, man, I said, you don't move an army to St. Petersburg, I won't put an army in Norway, is what I said. And okay, that's good. So I'm later talking with Germany, and Germany's like, I think Russia's going to be putting an army in St. Petersburg. So I pull Russia aside and I say, Germany told me that you're putting an army in St. Petersburg. And he goes, well, yeah, that's true, but Germany asked me to do it. So, and this is before the spring moves. And I told him, I said, look, if you do this move, I'm going to be putting an army in Norway. And I said, I don't think you're going to win this. I said, have very good relations with both of them at this point. And I said, I do not think this is going to work out good for either you or me. I don't like to go north as England. Like that's not how I like to play. I said, don't make this an issue because it never has to be. I said, we can play this game and focus on ourselves and do well. Don't become my enemy. And oh, well, it's too late. I'm going to do it. So he goes north. And this here, the play I make here, looking back, was a really bad mistake. And I just realized that today after the tournament was over, the next play I make. Now, diplomatically, I pull all the right levers with Germany. I say, look, this is what Russia told me. And Germany admitted to me, yeah, okay, I did ask them. It was before I talked with you. And I said, well, I just want to be very clear here. I said, if you don't, because he had told me before he wasn't going to bounce them in Sweden. He's like, I want to leave my options open. And I said, well, here's the option then. I said, you've asked him to go north. If you do not bounce him in Sweden, I am going with France. I said, we will have nothing to work with. There will be nothing to do. And so we really talked that through. And
he has a very calm demeanor, doesn't he?
Yes, yes. And I'm talking too with Russia, and Russia was, we actually had a pretty decent discussion here because I'm the one, he talked about sending his army, I think somewhere else, actually like to Livonia or something, or moving to the Baltic. And he had mentioned first about doing a convoy to Sweden, which I don't understand. And because he was like, I think I'm getting Sweden. And I said, well, he had mentioned something about I'll do a convoy and I'll get rid of it or something like that. And so when he told me he was doing a convoy, I first said, no, move it to Livonia. And he was like, okay. But then all of a sudden I thought to myself, you know what? I instead can move. If he moves to Sweden, gets bounced, then he's not going to be able to build in St. Petersburg. I can move up to Barents, and now it's on, right? This was stupid on so many levels now as I look at this again, because I should have at the very least moved Norwegian to Norway and bounced him and convoyed into a free Belgium. I don't even know how. First of all, it was later. I played a full round, round one. I don't know how that didn't cross my mind. I had set up so that I could go right into Belgium. And I think there was two parts of it. First of all,
anger. You were angry.
No, it wasn't. No, and I don't make decisions based out of anger unless maybe I have one center left or something, and maybe I'll try to hurt somebody. But no, I'm constantly trying to play for my best tactical position. I don't know why. I still look back. I don't know why I missed this. Why did I miss? And here's the killer. I knew he wasn't moving to Norway because you can see I moved to Barents. I was very sure this was not going to happen.
Correct. Yeah.
So
that's the first thing that strikes out at me.
Yeah, I knew this was not going to happen. And fall 1901, I'm literally, it looks like I'm making a gamble, and I moved to Barents. And the only, I can't. If you want to talk about like the biggest mistake probably I've made in 4 tournaments I play, this has to be it. And the more, it was probably the worst thing, and it set everything up to what was going wrong to happen. If I hadn't done that, I would have probably guarantee you, I would have, with my builds and everything, I would have had the North probably in 2 or 3 years with how I feel like I can play England, at least normally.
And you had a pretty vulnerable France with only one build coming if you have done that.
I think there was part of me in this was, part of me in some of this was, me and Steve had played an earlier game and there'd been some mistakes. This is several tournaments ago, and so maybe there was a little bit of that. There was the fact that he still moved north even after I basically told him Germany had told me this. and he still did it to make me upset. And I just felt like he wasn't reliable. Maybe that crowded into my mind too, but it was a bad decision. It was just a bad decision. Probably one of the worst tactical blunders I've made. And yeah, I'm ashamed.
Well, I mean, on the other hand, on the South for I don't blame Russia for going north, but I do blame them for not bouncing you in Norway or trying to take the chance there.
Yeah.
But he must have really thought that convoy was going through. He must have
he
just
definitely did.
he must have felt certain about that.
Yeah, he definitely did. And at this point, I think he did really want to work. He did want to work with me in some way, shape, or form, or at least keep things open. But I think he'd also worked out with Germany. Hey, let me put that army there, and then I can build a fleet, and we can really take them out. And I think Germany too realized, you know what, him putting an army into Sweden and building a fleet up there is not good for me long term either. And but I will say this, just in the future to people playing Germany, if Russia ever says, "Can I send an army north?" It's probably a good idea to say no. And the reason why is when Russia goes north, it almost basically makes England have to go, at least for a while, with France, because England can't attack France, right? If there's a unit in the north, he can't attack France. And so the only way that you should encourage that is if you think, I guess all three of you guys are going together. And I think even that's a bad play for Germany. So I think Gary should have probably said no, or said, hey, wait and let's see what happens. And because it kind of tipped my hand away from Gary. That one thing tipped my hand away from Gary, even though he bounced him in Sweden. And then the other thing that hurt was, I had played with Howe as France, and I was already comfortable, and I knew what I was getting there. And then the other thing too is Gary has, like you said, a great guy, and I mean, he's got a voice that's like perfect for like reading a book to you.
Yeah, he is. He's like a narrator.
The problem, though, is when you are, counting down with 3 minutes, and you know that this conversation could probably get done in 30 seconds, and it's going to take 2 minutes. You're like, okay, I can't cut him off. I like listening to him, but we got to make this faster. And I didn't know how to do that either. But that didn't ultimately make the decision, because
imagine me and Gary in a room.
What'd you say?
Gather it up, man.
What'd you say?
Imagine you and Gary in a room together. We just went on and on.
Say that one more time. I missed.
I was just saying, Gary and I, when we were in a room, we would just go on and on with each other.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy, and I could have easily seen me going with him. The big thing was encouraging Russia to go north. And because I already had a solid relationship with Hal, I felt like I knew what I was getting with Hal, and I knew I was going to have pressure now in the north. I couldn't trust. I felt like I couldn't get a handle on either of them, and also Gary's more methodical, and France was very much like, we basically agreed with how the game was going to go in 1901. Yeah, I'll get you into Belgium. In fact, I'm going to bounce Germany and set that up so you can go into it. So, it was a relatively easy decision at that point. And Gary is much more of a wait and see. And at least in this moment, with how eager Hal was, and kind of how cagey Gary was, I just, that's the decision I made.
All right. So you build the fleet. Gary builds a fleet in Kiel, which is commonly done these days, but a very friendly build from France.
Oh, you missed something that's really good to talk to. Go back to the fall. All right. So you see that French army is in Piedmont, okay? And so the whole thing happened because, and I think this was Gary. Because I told, this is at least what I told Hal. I said, look, they had set up a bounce in Piedmont. Both Italy and France had, and Italy didn't do the bounce. And I told Hal, I said, look, the only reason Italy doesn't do a bounce like that is because Germany told him not to do it. I said, Germany's a part of that. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how it looks like to me. And I said, the person who's messing you up here, it wasn't me, and it wasn't. And Italy had tried to get all three of us into a room. And I said, I was in there for like 30 seconds, and I said, because he jumped in, hey, let's all talk about this. And I said, look, I'm up to this. I'm good with this, but I don't think all three of us should be in a room talking about this. So I jumped out, and then I immediately went to Hal, and I said, I just want to let you know, I'm not the one that organized any of that, and I got out as fast as I could. So, but this going on, it was pretty easy to separate France and Germany at this point because France wanted to pin this on somebody, and I don't know what Gary would say, but I would say that had to be something those two talked about.
Yeah,
And
I thought that was very interesting.
great thing if you're wanting to hobble France, but I wasn't going to go with it. Not with Russia moving north.
But if he really was blaming Germany for this, the fleet build in Marseille as opposed to an army in Paris or Marseille seems a little perplexing to me.
Well, he was upset with Italy.
Okay.
Because he knew that Italy had done it. And so he was like, I'm building Fleet Marseille. And I said, well, that's fine. I don't care.
Right.
And I told him too, once I built, I said, look, I'm going to English Channel. I said, I have to do that to set myself up for the fall on, the move I'm going to make. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then at the same time, I'm working with Germany, and I'm telling them, look, because of how this has happened, I said, you can go ahead and take Belgium for all I care. I think is the way I said it. And Germany at the same time is like, I'm building another fleet. So it was like, I don't know. Gary was doing stuff that was like he was treating me as an adversary rather than trying to treat me as a friend. And again, and it's kind of just how he said it. Like, I got to make sure, I got to do this. And if you want to win me over, the way to win me over is like, hey, let's come with a plan on how to do this rather than I can't really trust you. And there's a way to still do that, Fleet, I think, but I don't know, and maybe it's just how I feel, but Hal was just like on board right from the get-go, and that's kind of.
I just want to pitch. Look, I have to have two fleets, and it's going to be used against Russia.
Sure, yeah, and he said something like that, and something along those lines, and we did a lot of discussion, and I told him, I said, I'm moving to English Channel, and my big thing was, look, if I'm going to kill France, you have to give me another build. I said, you go ahead and take Belgium. I said, but I'm going to take Sweden. And so I set myself up, to get Sweden, but then also with Hal, we had talked through about me taking Belgium. And
but the man puts you into Sweden.
Yeah, and he puts me in because my sell there is, okay, you can have Belgium. I said, but what's going to happen in this game is I'm going to bounce in Norway, and then in the fall, my build will be in Liverpool, and I'll do English to Irish Sea and North Sea to English Channel, and we'll go against France. So it's kind of like our last game. I have options. I can do this thing with Germany, and you can see Russia's being kind. Russia went to Baltic Sea because I asked him to. I said, if you want to work together, I said, I'm going to bounce in Norway. I said, go to the Baltic Sea or something like that.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised given the situation down south. He doesn't send one unit down.
Well, like I said, I think sometimes Steve's can be his own worst enemy on some things because I think sometimes he shuts out opportunities. But
right.
It is what it is. And I may not have a good read on what was going on in the south either. But yeah, at this point in the fall, I have options to work with France, to work with Germany, and you don't got a lot of time, and a lot of times in this moment when you have like the whole smorgasbord, so to speak, to pick from, you go with your gut. And so these little things that come up in 1901 and 1902 really do matter. And so my gut was, I've worked with Hal, I know what I'm getting from him. I don't know what I'm getting from Gary, and there's already kind of been some negatives. And even though he's done some good things, there's also a question I have. So in the fall, I go in with the EF. So I support Russia against him. I move away. I support into Belgium. And the real thing, this would have probably been a great alliance and would have probably ended up being a great game for me if Russia wouldn't have become so flip-floppy. Because you can see I move away, me and him are going to work, my idea, we're going to work together, and Russia's just going to decide I'm going to prioritize making sure I don't grow. I feel like I did everything I could to try to get some peace going there in the north, and he's just going to end up deciding I'm going to try to support Germany for a while, and those decisions are going to dictate my game because at a certain point I'm just going to decide Russia's got to go out because I can't trust him to make the right decisions. And maybe I should say I can't trust him to make the decisions that I feel are right for me. So because of that, I got to take him out. But I support him to Denmark. It doesn't go through because I wanted to guarantee Belgium. But I said, hey, I'm going to get you 1903 even if it doesn't go through. And I am going to give him support through 1903. He's just not going to take it.
So now we've got the army. You one thing you've always taught me about England is never forget those armies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so my plan is I'm going to start getting some convoys going, and put some fleets where they need to be, and things are looking really good. I'm very happy. This looks like this is, besides that spring 1901 move, this is exactly what I'd love to see as England going into. This is my normal going into 1903. I've got Sweden, and I'm at 6. So I've made up kind of the problem that I had, and now I'm rolling.
And you have a defined enemy, and your ally is under threat. That's perfect.
Yeah. It's a really great situation. If you ask me, hey, how's this going to go? I'd say, you know what? I would love this position. I'll play this position. And here becomes the problem. You'll notice. Now, I don't know why Sweden held. I think what we said was we'll wait for the fall to do it. I think that's what we said. Because this wasn't a lie.
Right.
I didn't lie to him about this, as I recall. I don't think this was a lie, because the next turn I'm going to support him as I think. So this is just standard, okay, let's go against Germany. And so Russia here is making the play. I'm going to do an air alliance and then I guess go against England. So it's going to be very imperative that we make quick work of Germany. And there were options here. There were options to take St. Petersburg. Maybe that should have been the first play I made. But I was really focused there on Holland, and maybe it would have been better to make a play on St. Petersburg at this point. I'm not sure. But
you mean with Sweden to Finland?
Well, yeah, that would have been an option. I mean, looking back, maybe to do. But at this point, I felt like me and Russia had play, that we were going to be able to do some things.
All right. So in the fall, I see a lot of red arrows. So not a lot of progress on Germany. In fact, the Baltic moves back, doesn't take your support, which would have gone through.
And I'll tell you what, one of the hardest things to negotiate that turn was to get Hal to not take Belgium and instead help me keep in Holland, because he wanted his build. And I said, look, if I lose, there's a chance I lose 2 centers here. I said, if Germany supports Russia to Sweden, I said, I'm going to be out here. I said, I could lose the North Sea. I said,
you could have lost Norway theoretically. I mean, there's lots of issues.
Yeah. There was all kinds. Well, no, I wasn't going to lose Norway, because, that North Sea.
That was just a cut.
Right. All that was set up to do was to make sure that if Denmark to Hegland Blythe happened, that the beleaguered garrison issue. That's why that was set up in that way. So that I wouldn't have lost that, but Sweden was in play there, and because his thought process could have been St. Petersburg, Norway, and then Denmark support Baltic to Sweden, and thankfully that didn't happen. And for some reason he goes Gulf to Bothnia. I don't understand that move at all.
Probably Germany told him that's what he needed to do.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's probably what it was. So yeah, I stay in Holland and I don't have to pull anything off. So, I guess relatively an okay successful, but it's just not as strong. Russia not coming through really hurt.
So you're going to build here. Well, you got a lot of fleets. I don't know what you build. Let's see.
I don't have a build.
No build. Oh, because you lost Belgium.
Yeah.
All right. No builds. So now the plan is, I feel like this is Goodfellas. So the plan is, all right, this looks pretty good.
Well, I get back with Russia and I say, look, I'm going to get you builds. I said, let's just get this done. I said, I think he's proposing I get all the north or something. It was really, I can't remember if it was at this point, but there are multiple points where he was like, the only way I'm going to work is, and he was like, he was basically wanting me to give him centers while he grows and I stay the same. And there wasn't a great plan here. And he was like, well, Denmark's not a great spot for me, which, you know, I get. But now he's going to go back and try to get something from Germany, supposedly. So we bounce, and I set everything up to make sure 100% I take Denmark.
Right.
And me and Russia are talking. And in my mind, we've got this down. And all of a sudden, with like 30 seconds to go, I realize he's probably just going to support Denmark. And I've not guaranteed Denmark. I have assumed that I can take it with 3. So I've assumed that. So I'm like, I'm going to get some convoys going, and I'm going to take St. Petersburg and knock him out so that I don't have to worry about this anymore. You know, get this done. You know, lock down the north. And I realized within like 30 seconds, oh no, I've got to make sure that I guarantee this. And Backstabber, this tournament, all the ones I played at have allowed you to make changes to your move after the adjudication.
Correct.
Even the deadline. This one, it no longer allows you to do that. So even
That's correct. They fixed that bug.
Yeah, it's too bad. Because usually, you know, the way Backstabber works, you almost get kind of thrown into a queue, and it takes a little while to do it because they're not really processing it. It's just like kind of waiting. And so I all of a sudden realize I can't change it. So I just have to wait to find out in the fall if it goes through. It does not. And I am now having to pull a unit. Because you can see what I was trying to do here.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to set up so that I can continue to make plays on Germany and on Russia. So I'm setting everything up, and I realize this is not going to happen.
You mean Sweden can't cut Baltic? I'm just kidding.
Right. No, what should have happened was Skagerrak should have supported.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And the agreement was this. I was going to let him take Norway, and he was going to support something. I was going to let him take Norway, and then I was going to get in. And then as I went down into Germany, he was going to get all of the north. That was the deal. And all of a sudden, I realized this guy is going to block me and try to take Norway all at once. And I was already not going to give him Norway at that point because that's a ridiculous deal, but that's what he wanted. And I may have, and at that point, I think I was just playing along with it. But I thought Denmark was going through. And for some reason, I thought Russia was going to do it. And that was a really bad play. And I wasn't able to fix it in the last second. I realized it, wasn't able to fix it. And
tried to get Skagerrak to support in Norwegian to Norway.
What I thought, I thought Baltic was going to go for Berlin or something. And it didn't, you know, everything went wrong for me in that turn. And so I'm going to have to pull off now.
Yeah. And let's see what do you pull? I guess the Army in New York. Yeah, that's all you really can do.
Yeah, you got to keep the pressure up. But at this point, you know, still, you know, Denmark's guaranteed. I can get this and, you know, continue on. And so that's the plan, you know, you keep rolling and, you know, take what you got.
This time you get it.
Yep, and I destroy the fleet. So now German's fleets are gone.
Yeah, you've destroyed both of them in 04 and 05. So that's a fantastic position to be in as England, especially with no French fleets to worry about.
Now here's the issue. Already you can see Germany's lost Munich. So we know there's this air alliance going on. This also greatly destroyed my chance of topping this board. If you guys watched the other video, you can see that I drop a stalemate line on Italy like pronto when Italy tries this stuff. I'm trying to tell how to do this. I say you need to just pull back and you need to drop Paris to Gascony. I said you need to, and at this point, you know, we're still having good discussions with Germany because we're all three talking and saying, look, let's put up a stalemate line against these guys. And so I'm telling France, you have to go back. He's like, no, it's impossible. You got to send a fleet south. And I said, you don't need a fleet south. You don't need my fleet south. All you have to do is go back. And I just could not get this across to him. And it wasn't until he was, losing centers that he was like, oh, that he said, yeah, I guess I should have done that. And I don't know what was driving him on this, but I told him Paris to Gascony. I said, move back to Mid-Atlantic, move back to
make it impenetrable.
Yeah. And he's, oh no, that won't hold. I'm going to lose it anyway. And I said, no, you're not. I said,
if you went Lyon to Spain, Western Med to Mid-Atlantic,
Right.
Paris to Gascony, everything's defensible at that point.
Right. The only way you lose is if Germany helps against Austria.
Right.
And if you have an impregnable position, Germany has, I think, more of a reason to work with you, because if there's an air alliance coming against you, only a very delusional person, Germany, is going to think that he's going to be able to get to the end. So.
Right. Well, Germany's in those positions. Yeah, correct. I mean, they like to survive, right? So you want to, if you're Germany in that position, you want to make it to where France has to support you on the line.
Right. You want to make yourself useful. And the fact that France in this next year is not going to set things up right and have no viability, that's going to completely destroy my game. I mean, it's amazing how I ended this game personally. I with how this all ends up going forward.
And we do have this incomprehensible move to North Africa.
Yeah, I mean, what this is showing is that he's not really got how to do this stalemate line. He just hasn't got it or figured it out on how to do it on the run. And so I just encourage players, make a blank board and be able to do all the southern stalemate lines, all the northern ones, all the eastern ones, all the western ones, how to do partial stalemate lines. Like, understand this, because in the moment you need to know it. And I multiple times I did this different ways, and I literally sketched out, how is this going to be broken? Well, it'll be broken eventually. It won't matter. And
right.
It was disappointing on that. But the thing is, he kept wanting me to come down and do stuff, but my only viability was to make Russia weaker. Because if I made Russia weaker, then there was the chance that this air alliance would break apart and Austria would get free.
Unfortunately for you, Russia is getting a build here through Germany.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Like, I cut support to keep him in, and he prioritized going against me. So, I mean, I get it. Yeah, there is a lot of tactical stuff going on there in the South, and yeah, disappointing.
All right. Well, Germany, I mean, France disbanded the right one.
Yep.
Build the army. You're building the army. Well, I would have considered a fleet Liverpool, seeing all these Italian fleets down there.
I don't need it, though. Fleet North Africa to Mid-Atlantic, Paris to Gascony. I say it again.
Right. That's true.
This is what you need to block Italy. It's impossible. It's not going to work. This is what it is. This is what you have to do. No, it's not. It's just a matter of time. Well, I said, even if it's a matter of time, and even if Germany and Austria, work this out, I said, it's still going to take forever. Now, here's something I'm not counting out. He just wants to go to bed too. So,
well, and also when I'm France and I've set up the stalemate line like that, Italy moves away.
Yeah, a smart one. And and that's the play you make. Look, okay, if you want Germany and Austria to get all my dots, okay, but you're not going to get anything. I mean, that's what you say. That's how you play it. And if Italy wants to sit back and let them get it, well, that's the breaks. All
right. So meanwhile, you press the only attack you have, which is against Russia. Mm-hmm. But boy, Austria, Andre is a good player. I mean, from Portugal, and he hits Burgundy.
Yeah, and I made the play I did specifically because this was a very well thought out move set up north, because I left Sweden open because I knew I could take it back regardless. Whatever happened, Sweden was going to go back, and then I would be set up next year to take St. Petersburg. And it's at this point that Austria convinces Germany on this grand plan for revenge. They say, okay, we're going to do this and get you into here, and you're going to be able to build fleets and take England out, and they sell this big bill of goods about how.
And you might need to know a little history.
Yeah.
Which is Austria and Germany and I all played in the first game. And in that case, we let your Austria, but our France be the Janissary in the alliance.
Yeah.
And let him live for a while. And it appears that's what he's doing here, just the roles reversed.
Yeah, but it's this very complicated we're going to get rid of stuff and you're going to be able to build fleets. And, you know, and the other thing he's got to deal with too is I'm not going to make it that easy. And so you know, there may be some grand plan here, but I'm not going to make it that easy. And so anyway, I'm setting everything up to do a move. And so Austria convinces Germany of this, so they break through whatever line there was. Because we could have held out for a long time, and I could have taken St. Petersburg, and we could have even ended it at that point, and been pretty equal. And, you know, I'm not going to get any, you know, trophies or anything, but, you know, it'll be a shared board top or something like that. And maybe I can make something happen in the East and keep going. But at this point, it becomes pretty clear that probably Austria is going to be the one that's going to board top this. So I start talking with Austria. I say, look, I said, this happened in the last one. I said, I am perfectly fine with you board topping. I even told him, I said, look, I want to get you, you know, so that you can win this thing, or at least that you can get close. I said, but the person who's going to really grow off of all of this won't be you. You're going to have to take Russia out. And I said, I'll do my part to weaken them, but you're going to have to make the move when it comes time. So I'm kind of saying that to Austria. And, you know, so game continues.
And he's got dots in front of him to do it.
Yep.
I mean, he could have made that move without much problem.
Yeah. So now he's setting up, and, you know, I could have moved something to the south, but anyway, I'm making my spring move because I'm going to take St. Petersburg, and he moves to the English Channel, and he told me he was going to move to the English Channel, actually. And I was like, in the back of my mind, this guy is going to stab me at the end because he's upset I didn't go south. Like that's just a fear I have. And I said, the build I'm about to get isn't going to matter. And you can see, like, there's stuff that, you know, could have happened to maybe block some things at points. But it's about at this point that, and I don't know how much of this was Austria and Italy or what, but how was basically like, I want to go to bed. So whatever, you know, great ally, but, you know, you get to about 11:30, and if you haven't wrapped up your board game, your ally is going to be taking a sleeping pill. And so you want to get, maybe you want Hal more in the round one than round two. But so he's basically what happens is Hal decides, I'm going to give all my centers to them, and because I want to go to bed, and this will end the game. So okay, I mean, I'm not mad about it. I mean, that's what he wants to do. And I'm telling Italy, look, you can keep doing this, but I'm going to throw everything back so that you don't get anything from me. And I can see here, look, I'm getting St. Petersburg. It's guaranteed. And the moves go through, and I'm not in St. Petersburg. And I go, what has happened? And you can see, looking at the backstabber interface, right?
I don't know what has happened.
It looks like it should go through, right?
You cut Bothnia, you cut Livonia.
Right. Right.
It's 3-on-2. Finland, does not move to St. Petersburg.
No. No, Finland moves. Barents Sea supports Norway to St. Petersburg. And look how they write it.
Oh, my God.
It doesn't go all the way over to Norway, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. I'm moving Finland to St. Petersburg. And so rather than have that little line go all the way over to Norway, it cuts in with Finland. So when I look at it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is going through. And so it goes through, and it takes me a while to realize what happened. And so that line should go all the way over to Norway if Barents is supposed to be supporting that there. Instead, it looks like it's supporting it to Finland, but it's not.
And just at the time when Austria stabs him for 2.
And Italy goes to North Atlantic. So now I have nothing to put into Liverpool to stop them.
And then as Hal leaves at this point?
Yeah, and you know what? Hal told me he was going to convoy an army to Wales. And I was like, and so I like begged and pleaded for him just to stop Italy from being able to set some things up. And he finally acquiesced and didn't do that. He wasn't going to hurt me, he said. He said he was going to go to Wales, not London. But I was like, just use that fleet instead to bounce Italy. Give me some time. It's not going to make a difference. Just still go out the next turn. So then he did that. So you know, but I didn't get my fleet in Liverpool. So then it was like, oh man, you know, this is going to be a pain. And but Austria stabs at that moment, and Russia now is like, okay, I'm going to try to get revenge, which is good. And Germany, um,
Germany has
Austria,
Russian and Austrian dots to get.
well, Germany, I'm going to end up having good play from both, help from Germany and Russia, because things aren't going to work out the way that they thought they would, which often happens with the smaller powers. So I make my move. I'm happy with this. And I mean, now Italy, you give them credit, just an excellent series, because they're going to convoy an army right into Liverpool. So this was excellent. But I make my moves back to begin, because I'm going to do convoys back into my home area, and I'm going to take stuff back. I mean, this honestly could have been the end for me in a lot of ways. But tactically, at this point, tactically, I was on point. Even though I made mistakes throughout this game, at the end, I feel like relatively I'm on point. There's some things that perhaps could have been better, but there was just a lot of options. So they convoy in, but I put a fleet into Clyde. And not only that, I'm getting 3 builds. Well, I should say I pick up 3 centers, lose Liverpool, so I'm getting 2 builds. So I'm not as defenseless as Italy had presumed.
Now, Dave Miletsky, I will tell you, tells me he and I spoke, and he was like, he urged you to pith the army now.
Yes, true. He did.
And that you wouldn't do it.
There were 2 things that played against that. The first was me and him were talking. I had put this together in my mind, and me and him started talking with like maybe 3 minutes to go or something. It wasn't a lot of time. And I was also very worried about Norwegian. I thought North Atlantic to Norwegian, they're going to have 3 around me. And his ideas, yes, would have worked. It would have been great. But the other thing too that he wasn't considering was that I had worked out deals with Austria, and so I was going to be giving Austria back. I mean, he was going to get Moscow anyway, and I was going to be giving him Berlin. And so I needed to go to Denmark to get Kiel, to take so that there wouldn't be a retreat right into Denmark. So if it goes through to Yorkshire, now all of a sudden I have nothing in Denmark. So yes, it would have gotten that, and in an Italian situation that would have been better. But to me, with everything else that was going on in the east, not having enough time also I still don't know all the ramifications to think that through, and being worried about Norwegian, I just decided, you know what? I know with this move set, I will get Liverpool back. I know that will happen. Sure, the army.
And he said that's what you told him.
Yeah, I said I know Liverpool will come back, and I need to do some other things with my units to make sure I don't have to pull off, because I knew I was going to get Kiel, and I knew I was going to get Liverpool back, but I was also going to lose Berlin and Moscow. So I made the moves that I did. Notice also at this moment, Italy decides to try to grab something from Austria. Now, this is kind of funny because me and Austria are talking up a storm, because at the same time, I'm saying, look, on my end, I can't board top. The only person who can challenge you for a board top here is Italy. And at that moment, Italy goes, I think all 3 of us maybe were, I don't think I said at that time, but we're all 3 talking, me, Italy, and Austria. And Italy goes, I need to go talk with Germany. And now remember, Germany doesn't have a lot of centers, and he's sitting in Tyrolia. They talk and talk and talk. And the whole time I'm with Austria saying, what do Italy and Germany have so much to talk about? What's going on? And I'm pointing him to Trieste, and I said, look, you need to do this, this, and this. And so Italy decides to make their move, and I'm setting up so I don't have to lose anything. And this was like, when I saw fall 1909, I was like, whoa, I have play here. Because Italy is going to have to pull off 2 units. He loses Liverpool, and because of what he did in with supporting Russia into Khan, Austria retreats into Smyrna. So he's going to have to pull off 2 units. And so I propose a draw, but I am planning to reject it, because I'm at 8, Italy's at 8, Austria's at 13, but there's options I have, right? And then Italy decides to disband Rome and Mid-Atlantic. You just tried to attack Austria, and your decision is, I'm going to keep all the pressure on England and give Austria a solo opportunity. It is mind-boggling, the stupidity to me of that decision. And when I asked him later, he was like, well, I wanted to go where I could keep growing.
Well, maybe you don't want to get soloed on. That would be a better thing. You know, you can't get any points if you get soloed on. And for whatever reason, Austria decided to not go for the solo.
I'm a little stunned here because I can't make a case for Rome. I really can't make a case for the Mid Atlantic either, but I really can't make a case for him. And if his object was to grow, he could have taken Portugal with MAO. I mean, you know.
It's mind boggling, you know, and this might come back to me, you know, and it's probably something I need to work on. You know, when people are attacking me, sometimes, like in my mind, I can see, okay, this is what's going to happen, and they're not going to get anything. And so, like, I think there's some players that when I tell them, look, if you keep doing this, I'm just going to make sure you don't get anything. I think they just take it as a challenge. And so they have this idea that I'm not going to let him get the better of me or something like this. And so if I don't know the way to go around this. When someone like relentlessly, you know, they're committing against you. I don't know. It's probably something I got to figure out. But I don't know if it was really me or not. I mean, he didn't tell me that. But maybe there was that.
I don't mind that threat, but after it happens, I mean, it's. But this is, obviously, he didn't have a great relationship with Italy at this point.
Well, I didn't do anything to him. You know, he's attacking me. I mean,
right. His army's in Yorkshire. You don't really see an Italian army in Yorkshire a lot.
You know, if someone's attacking me, like I kind of expect them to, you know, be arguing against, you know, and saying, hey, don't do this. Like, I'm not calling them names or saying you're stupid or anything like that. But I do say, look, here, I know how to defend my borders. You're not going to get anything from it. And I'm also, the other big thing I'm using is I'm talking to both of them. I'm saying, Italy, do you really want Austria to board top? Yes, yes, yes. Well, if that's the case, if you keep growing it, you're just making it harder. That was my big thing with both of them. Because I kept hitting, if you're wanting Austria to win this thing, because that's what he's saying. We want Austria to win, and that's what I'm selling. Let's get Austria to win. I said, if you keep taking my centers, that means Austria has to take even more. And it's making me wonder, you really want Austria to win?
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, I understand Austria is going to lose Smyrna. You know, it's a little challenging, but I'm surprised Austria agreed to the draw, other than the fact that it was very early in the morning and he'd been, you know, playing a long time.
Yeah. People make mistakes, and I would have kept playing it. I would have kept playing
it. What did they say on DBN about it?
I don't remember.
Okay. I feel like I would have kept playing. Yeah. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, like immediately in spring 1910, he can immediately take Kiel, for sure. He's going to be able to take Vienna.
He probably takes St. Petersburg. You've got to, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you may throw.
No, I will never throw.
Not throw, but I mean, you may show Italy. I mean, but I guess you're going to support St. Petersburg.
Right. Yeah, that's there to make sure he can never get out. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a thrower. I mean, I'll punish people, and maybe if I just have one center or two centers left, but I'm not going to throw a solo. I will take somebody out and down with me, but not in the sense of I'm going to let someone solo. I mean, first of all, that, you know, it's interesting. I was listening. Maybe I should save this for yours. I'm going to save this opinion when we talk about yours. About this.
Okay, but you know, he could have supported Tiroli into Venice. I mean, how many times have we seen that?
Yeah,
there were major options to So I'm going to chalk it up. Andre is a good tactical player. Look, you can see this. Austria is in Brest. He spans from Brest to Moscow a line of armies. He had no fleets, so that's always a challenge. You know, when you're talking solo, but I think he could have gotten more than 13, but he was out of the tournament no matter what. So that may have gone into his thinking. It was a hell of a result for Austria.
Yeah, well, he played a great game. Like I have nothing to criticize him besides, you know, ending early with how he played. I mean, it was really, really impressive. I really like what he did. I feel like I could have. I feel I would have loved to see me and him clash, with me being, you know, if France would have been able to hold, and if I wouldn't have made some mistakes, I would have loved to have seen that clash and that interplay.
I've
see what
clashed
would've
with him twice. We were neighbors twice, and we clashed the whole time, and it was nothing but. I don't have your tactical chops, and it took everything I could come up with because he came up with a lot of good. I mean, we were working each other.
Yeah.
Smart player.
Yeah, yeah, and he's really high in the DBNI, and we may, who knows? We may meet again.
Okay, well, look, thank you very much, Umble. Thank you, diplomacybriefing.com, for talking about game 2. And we will be back with an analysis of my games. So much appreciated, Umble. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.